This month, a rule quietly changed in Australia that affects almost 9 million workers. And I'll genuinely guarantee you, most people watching this right now have no idea it even happened. This one change could show up on your very next payslip. And by the time you retire, for a lot of people, it could mean a difference of thousands of dollars. But here's the flip side of this story. If you run a business or you're responsible for payroll somewhere, ignoring this rule could genuinely end up costing you a lot more than you'd expect. So today, I want to break down exactly what changed, why it changed in the first place, who actually comes out ahead here, and who needs to be paying close attention right now. Stick around, because near the end, I'm going to run through a couple more changes that landed this same month, and honestly, almost nobody's talking about them either. Hey guys, Daniel here. Welcome back to Daniel Reports. If you're new here, this is where I break down money, work, and the economy in Australia in plain English. No jargon, just what actually affects you. And I'll be honest, this is one of those changes that sounds boring on paper, payroll timing. But once you actually see the numbers behind it, it's genuinely one of the more significant shifts I've covered on this channel. If that's the kind of content you're after, do me a favor, hit subscribe, tap that like button. Takes 2 seconds and it genuinely helps this channel keep going. All right, let's break it down properly. So what actually changed? From the 1st of July this year, a reform called Payday Super officially kicked in. Here's the simple version. Before this, employers were only legally required to pay your superannuation once every 3 months. Now, as of this month, they have to pay it every single payday, alongside your wages, and it has to land in your super fund within 7 business days. To put that in context, some experts have actually called this the biggest structural change to Australia's super system in around 30 years. Quick pause here, because I know some of you are thinking, all right, Daniel, that sounds like a fairly boring technical detail. Why does the timing actually matter that much? Stick with me, because the reason this rule exists in the first place is honestly a bit unsettling. Under the old quarterly system, Australian workers were collectively losing an estimated $5.9 billion a year in unpaid or underpaid super. Here's how that actually happened in practice. If your employer was supposed to pay a super every 3 months and they simply didn't, there was a real chance nobody would notice for ages. Sometimes people only found out once they changed jobs and checked their balance, or worse, once their employer's business had already collapsed and there was nothing left to chase. Think about that for a second. That money was legally yours, it was earned, and under the old system it could quietly go missing for months without you having any real way of knowing. Here's a daily life way to picture the old system. It's a bit like your pay disappearing into a locker for 3 months before someone finally hands it to you, and trusting that whoever's holding that locker key actually opens it on time, every time, without you being able to check in between. Now let's talk about who actually wins from this change, because this is genuinely the good news part of the story. Every time you get paid now, your super has to move at the same time. And here's why that timing actually matters more than people realize. It's not just about your money arriving sooner, it's about how much longer it has to grow. Research out of UNSW found that a 25-year-old on a typical income could end up around $6,000 better off at retirement, purely because of this timing shift alone, nothing else changing. And that's actually the conservative estimate. Other modelling puts the average benefit for a young worker closer to $7,700, and for people with longer careers ahead of them or higher incomes, that figure can stretch out to somewhere between $40,000 and $60,000 by the time they retire. Here's the actual reason behind that number, and I think it's genuinely worth understanding rather than just accepting. It's not about getting a bigger contribution. The 12% rate hasn't changed at all. It's that every single contribution now starts earning investment returns weeks or months earlier than it used to. And when you're talking about a working life that spans 4 decades, all of those small heads starts genuinely add up. Think of it like this. Imagine your money sitting at a train station for 3 months before finally being allowed to board and start heading toward its destination, versus getting straight on the very next train that comes through. Over one trip, that delay barely matters. Over a few thousand trips across an entire career, that time genuinely compounds into something significant. And the people who benefit the most from this particular change are exactly the workers who were most exposed under the old system: casual employees, hospitality and retail staff, and gig economy workers, the exact groups who were historically hardest hit by unpaid or late super in the first place. Now let's talk about the other side of this, because I don't think this video does its job if I only tell you the good news. If you run a business, especially a small one, this rule genuinely tightens things considerably. There's no more 3-month buffer to sort out cash flow issues or catch a payroll mistake quietly before anyone notices. Every payday now has to include super on time with essentially zero room for error. And the penalties for getting it wrong aren't gentle. If a payment is missed or late, businesses face something called the superannuation guarantee charge, which includes interest that compounds daily, plus an administrative penalty that can add up to an extra 60% on top of what was already owed. My honest take on this side of the story. This isn't really a superannuation problem for business owners anymore. It's fundamentally become a payroll systems problem with genuine legal and financial consequences attached. A small processing delay that used to be an easy fix can now snowball into a real cost fairly quickly. So while employees genuinely come out ahead here, business owners need to treat this as a serious compliance priority, not just another quiet policy update to skim past. Now, before we wrap up, I want to quickly run through a couple of other changes that also landed this same month, because honestly, most people have missed these entirely, and stacked together, they tell a bigger story about how this particular month has actually shaped up. The national minimum wage crossed $1,000 a week for the very first time, now sitting at just over $1,004. The lowest income tax bracket dropped from 16% down to 15%, putting a bit more into most people's take-home pay. And new rules now specifically target major supermarkets, aiming to crack down on what regulators are calling excessive or unjustified price hikes. 3 separate changes, 1 single month, and I genuinely bet most people watching this didn't clock more than one of them, if any at all. So, what should you actually do with all of this information right now? If you're an employee, the simplest thing you can do is actually check your payslip. Super should now be showing up alongside your wages every single payday, not just once a quarter like it used to. It's also worth logging into your Super Funds app or checking through MyGov every so often, just to confirm contributions are landing on schedule. Under the old system, a mistake could hide for months. Under this new one, you'll typically spot it within weeks. If you're a business owner or you handle payroll, now is genuinely the time to double check your systems can actually keep up with this new payment schedule, rather than finding out the hard way after a missed payment triggers a penalty. And just to be clear, this is general information, not personal financial advice. Your own situation, income and circumstances will always affect exactly how this applies to you. So let's bring this all together, because I know we've covered a fair bit of ground. This particular rule wasn't introduced to catch anyone out or make life harder for the sake of it. It was built to fix a system that had genuinely been leaking billions of dollars from everyday workers for decades, largely without them even realizing it was happening. Here's my honest take to close this one out. For employees, this is a genuine, measurable win, even if it's a quiet one that shows up gradually rather than all at once. For employers, it's a responsibility that now comes with real teeth behind it. And the people who actually understand what changed here, rather than just scrolling past another policy headline, are the ones who will actually benefit from it the most. If this helped you understand what's actually changed, drop a comment and let me know. Have you noticed a difference on your own payslip yet? I read every single comment, and honestly, half my future videos come straight from what you guys bring up down there. And if you know someone who runs a small business, or someone who simply has no idea this change even happened, send this video their way. This is genuinely the kind of thing that's easy to miss until it directly affects you. I'll keep an eye on how this rule actually plays out over the coming months, because reforms like this one often reveal a few more wrinkles once they've been running for a while. Hit subscribe if you want to stay ahead of changes like this instead of finding out about them by accident. I'm Daniel, this has been Daniel Reports, and I'll see you in the next one.